Hey everybody, we're here. Ghostbusters Afterlife review. I'm with Puttyman from Putty. You can find Putty on Putty. His link will be in the
Putty.
description below. It's a new show where he rolls around on Putty.
Exactly.
So, um, just like before we really get into it, I'll just tell everybody this is going to be a spoiler and a non-spoiler review. So we'll give you a quick little rundown, and then we'll discuss the movie later on at full spoilers. So he has a Slimer. I've got a Venkman.
I also have a right here. I have a Stay Puff
He's got a
popcorn.
Stay Puff. I've got a Monster, not a sponsor. And we'll just jump right into this. So without really, okay, you know what? In the briefest way possible, because you're probably better at this than me. Not your opinion. Explain this movie without any spoilers.
That's right. So basically, this is actually years down the road, literally 20 years down the road, where one of the Ghostbusters, I won't state who it is, has a family that ends up moving into a home, and then strange ghost things happen, and then it leads into more information about the past Ghostbusters, and then there you go. Just pretty much I would say taking Ghostbusters out of New York is basically what's going on here, and taking it into a more of a countryside location, a farmhouse. So, and then ghosts come, and and who are you gonna call?
I guess Ghostbusters.
I don't know. It's barely if it's your one and only call.
Yeah, they'll hang up on you eventually. But yeah. So general thoughts in the least spoilery way. I mean, it's hard to judge this because I liked it. My personal take on the movie was I really enjoyed it. I mean, objectively, there's a lot wrong with the movie, I would say. But I mean, if you like Ghostbusters and you want to have a good time, I feel like this is a good watch. It's funny. It's not like super funny, but the tone, the vibe of fun is consistent from the start to the finish.
Well, when I did my review, here's the thing. I stated based on it how I felt about it, because here's the thing. If you're a Ghostbusters fan, you're gonna love it. I feel like, as far as comedy wise, where it bridges the gap between like family to adult, it's in the middle between 1 and 2, actually, because you know how 2 kind of had that feel of like it was more for kids, and 1 had more of adult humor in it and everything.
Yeah.
I feel like this kind of bridges that gap in between, especially towards the end, which I won't get into that now. But but the thing is, as a Ghostbusters fan, it's definitely enjoyable. I even stated myself when I did my rating, I said I'm doing this as a Ghostbusters fan, but I feel like people are going to tear this apart, especially people that are very, very judgmental on things, or maybe hardcore fans. But I feel like if you're a fan and you generally just love Ghostbusters, even with like the cartoon and everything, you're really going to love this. You know what I mean? But if you're more cryptic, like you hated Ghostbusters 2, then it might be iffy for you, if that makes sense.
If you like Ghostbusters 1 and you don't like 2 or the remake, you're not going to like this movie.
Exactly.
I promise you won't like it. I can say it's lucky for everyone. I think my personal opinion, as a fan, I really liked it, but I still think it's a good time at the movies. It's definitely a theater movie. It has a theater vibe. It has a lot of good quality sound in it. It has good visuals. It's just it's a good movie. It's not gonna blow you away, but it's generally a fine watch. And I can't see anybody really being upset about this unless you went to get like a really funny comedy, because it's not really funny. It has funny parts, and it's a fun movie throughout, but it's not like laugh out loud funny. There was only a few moments where I was like laughing.
For me, in a lot of ways, the majority of the film has more of like it's a Ghostbusters in a Stranger Things atmosphere. Does that make sense?
It feels, yes, I agree with that, but it's not as serious as Stranger Things, but I definitely get that vibe that you mean, where it's like they're trying to get to the bottom of something. Like there's actually like a kind of mystery going on where it's kind of like cryptic in a sense. Yeah, but I mean,
well, I say the Stranger Things vibes where they're going for the feel where it still has that scary comedy kind of thing, but it has that whole it's the childlike wonder of it all. Does that make sense? Like that's the way.
Yeah,
kind of
I
looking at it.
guess. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it has a really good sense of tension. There's a
Mhm.
lot of suspenseful parts. It's not scary at all, but
Mhm.
for a movie that doesn't really have any horror in it, it has a lot of tension. Like there's a lot of scenes that build up so much tension, and then you don't know why because you're like, I don't understand where they're going with this. It's not going to be like a horror part.
Yeah,
Like there's
exactly.
one or two little jump scares, but I mean, you could tell they weren't trying to make it scary. I don't know. Spoiler free wise, I enjoyed it. I think it's worth watching. It's a good time. It's not as good as the original, but if you can vibe with a movie like just like a fun time, it's just a fun time. I would. This is like a low sevens out of 10. It's like 7.25 out of 10.
See, for my review, I actually did 8 out of 10, but that was because of being the Ghostbusters fan. So I was
Even as a fan, I give it that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that's fair.
yeah.
It's a good movie. To be honest with you, I might have to go back and sit down and think about it, but I think it's better than both of the sequels or the sequel and the
I
remake.
agree. Oh no, and we'll get into that too. I actually feel like the original Ghostbusters will always be number one, but honestly, it sits right in between Ghostbusters 1 and 2 as far as my favorites. And then of course, I finally, by the way, I broke down and did watch the 2016 one, and by far that's 100, 100 of like as far as like what I mean by 100 is that like if a Ghostbusters number one and Afterlife would be like number two, and then Ghostbusters 2 would be number three for me. Number 100 would be the 2016 version. That was
That's
just a
absolute
mess.
insanity. So we'll get into that.
Yeah.
So guys,
But
if you just came for spoiler free,
But before we go into spoiler free, I do
okay.
want to bridge something before we go into spoiler free. And I don't know if you did this either, but Marvel it up. That's all I'm going to say. If you understand how Marvel movies work, you need to do it with this one as well.
I don't get what that means, but thank you for watching. If you came for the no spoilers, we're about to get into spoilers, so just exit now if that's all you came for. All right, so full spoilers. Number
Do you
one,
want
I
to know
like
what I
to.
mean by Marvel it?
I don't get it because Marvel movies
What do
are
Marvel does?
generally well made.
What is
So
the one thing all Marvel movies do?
no idea.
They always have a scene at the end of the credits. They do not stick
Yeah,
with
it's
it.
not really an end credit scene, but I get what you mean.
No, it
Okay,
is. No, no, you can
no,
stick
it's a
around.
mid credit scene.
Are you talking about the one with Dana and him?
Yeah,
No, there's another one at the end with Ernie
yeah,
Hudson.
but that's not worth waiting for.
I think
Um,
so because I think they're leading into something with that, and we'll get into that. Just
Well, I think there's going to be more of this anyway, so I don't think you have to
yeah.
worry about them leading into anything. I think this is going to go. This is generally in the broadest sense of the word, the like not the word, but the way I'm saying this, going to be Extreme Ghostbusters, where it's
Yep.
like the second wave, and I believe that Ray is going to stick around and be like their mentor.
Yeah, because I feel like that's what
Because you don't have Spangler, obviously. Egon is normally
well,
the Extreme Ghostbusters guy.
yeah, and that's the other thing. Well, here's the thing. Here's the situation why I feel like that. Well, first off, I would say I feel like Dan Aykroyd would want to stick around with it because he'd be more, because Bill Murray, he's just kind of there for the thing. I feel like actually it's going to be both Dan Aykroyd and Ernie Hudson, and that's the reason why I stated the whole
Well,
weekend.
I'll say this. I'll accept your theory for the reason that Ernie Hudson, I don't want to say desperate for roles, but he will take anything that has the word Ghostbusters on it, even if you pay him $5.
He even said, "I'm always going to be a Ghostbuster." Literally at the end of it, you know what I mean?
Listen, in my opinion, as a Ghostbusters fan, a diehard Ghostbusters fan, he is such an important part. He's some of the best part of the second movie. He's some of the best parts, and I think he got dogged in the marketing of the first movie, and I think he spent so long trying to prove that he's really one of the Ghostbusters when the real Ghostbusters fans already accept you. You like, we're not even accept you. You are a Ghostbuster.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need to prove it. But that's how I feel it is with him. He's constantly trying to prove that I'm a Ghostbuster too. And it's like, dude, yeah, you are.
But I think that's the reason why I'm excited about staying the credits, because the thing is, he was saying that he wanted to get the car and refurnish it, but they were very cryptic about what his business was. Like, I was trying to figure out like what business he run, and I think that's something they're going to do special. Is that because she even says, if you remember, I forgot her name now, Annie Potts, when her character, I'm forgetting her name now anyway. But when she
Isn't that her name, Annie Potts?
No, isn't that's the name of that's her actual name. I'm talking about the character name. Like,
I don't remember.
yeah. But anyway, when she's at the end of the scene, because they show the scene with Egon and the coin and everything, and they actually actually go into it. She actually states you've been successful in your business. You know what I mean? And then they were cryptic about what the business was, and of course he sees the car. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's a refurnishing business, but I feel like that's a Trojan, and they're setting up for something bigger. Like maybe he has the money to revamp the whole Ghostbuster thing, and like you said, it becomes the Extreme Ghostbusters, where maybe Egon's daughter comes in.
Janine Melnitz. I cannot believe that we forgot her name. We're fake Ghostbusters fans.
I know. But Janine, oh my god, I just realized, like, yeah, right?
Yeah, like, why were we saying her real name? I didn't even know what her real name was, and somehow I just knew it in my head. Anyways, but he actually does say how she does say how Winston gets rich. He does, when he's describing what happened to everybody, he says how. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but he says he's invested a bunch of money in this and he became a millionaire or something.
But what did he invest in? I didn't think
he says it's steel and oil or something, or something like that.
But that still could be cryptic, though. That could, I mean, that's just the general item. My point to the whole thing is yeah, he could be using that money to finance the whole thing.
I think that's more likely. Yeah, I don't think how he got the money is cryptic, or the way that he said it was cryptic. But I think the thing that we can look into as being like a theory is we don't know what he's been doing with the money since he got the money, right? It could have been anything. Also, I mean, I'm assuming they flew out there by helicopter because they just showed up in Oklahoma.
Which means Ernie Hudson, Winston, I want to say the actor's name, which means Winston's probably the one that actually flew them in. You know what I mean?
Winston Zeddemore.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I got a question for you. Yeah. I do have a question for you. I feel like there's going to be a lot of controversy. I loved it. I felt they did it right, but let's get into it. How did you feel about them doing the Ghost of Egon?
I loved it. Okay. If you want to know my honest opinion, from the very moment that they showed up there, the only thing that upset me was I was expecting them to go Do, Ray, Winston instead of Egon, and then I was about to like shit my pants, but they didn't do it. But I literally, from the moment they showed up until the end, I cried for the entire thing.
I did too. So here's the thing. I already knew, though.
I'm just gonna tell you, for the whole time.
I did too. I teared up. See, here's the thing. I already knew Egon was there, and the first time I knew was when when the chess piece moved and she started playing.
Oh yeah, I knew it right away. I was like, that's Egon. In the morning, but I think they it wasn't like trying to hide that. They wanted you to know that's what it was. Because obviously the ghost that killed him was not playing fucking chess with her.
Exactly.
But I mean, I think I loved everything about the end of the movie. You can argue it went too Star Wars-y or too Marvel-y in the sense where they just tried to pay fan service, and they did, but they did it really well.
Yes.
Ivan Reitman, what's his son's name?
Jason Reitman.
Yeah.
Is it Jason?
He took so much, there's so much love and care in this. From the fact of like the legacy of his father, the legacy of the actors, what this movie means to people. This is like Force Awakens. Like, people keep comparing to this, and I don't feel the same way. But in this sense, I'll say it in the way that it was made with this love of Star Wars. This movie was made with the love of Ghostbusters.
Yes.
Like, you could feel like nothing but pure love and the want to make something that's going to please everybody. And as much fan service as this movie has, they actually have a solid story here. It's not just pure fan service. It's well built, and it set a foundation going forward. Because now you have these kids as they age to make as many movies as you want, as long as you can keep everybody on the payroll. You're going to have Paul Rudd there for sure, and the mom.
Well, that's a prime example right there. See, the thing is keeping them in the dark. I love that whole idea, because then it made the whole thing where, like, well, why would he keep them in the dark? And then when you find out, because I loved the whole pit and how he used the proton pack, the cannons from the proton pack to keep the ghost at bay every time they start coming up, and that's what was causing the quakes. Little things like that explained why he was there, because he wouldn't want, in case it did break out, he wouldn't want his own flesh and blood daughter to be there and to get hurt, especially since she had little grandkids. You know what I mean? So, or her kids. So the whole thing of setting that up really made me feel good about it. And at the same time, I love that no matter what they did, Phoebe's character really followed in the same footsteps of her grandfather, like even to the T of her look.
It was a little too spot on for me. like
I know.
where podcast is Ray, but it's like it takes you like let's just X amount of minutes to realize, oh, it's Ray. Like
I
you
didn't
had to,
realize that. I like podcasts. I
yeah,
really did.
but
I didn't think it was
you had
right.
to slowly wait for the buildup. I would say I noticed it about the time when the brother picks them up in the car. That's when I was like, oh, this whole time it was leading up to this, he's gonna be Ray. And then the brother is definitely Venkman. We already know that.
Yeah.
And then the girl is Winston, which is kind of like shitty because you just cast another black person to play Winston. I mean, not that they can't have a black character, but it's because you cast her to literally be Winston is kind of like why I'm like, huh? She could have been herself.
Yeah, I was kind of pushed away, honestly, with Wolfhart's character and his love interest. You say I was actually put up with him because, again, I like him as an actor, but it was really odd. Like it felt out of place, and I understood why they did it. It really helped with Phoebe's character, to be honest with you. But like for example, I automatically knew there's so many things that they felt like they were trying to keep it hidden, or I thought they were keeping it hidden, but it was just so well known as far as like the gatekeeper and the keymaster being the Paul Rudd and their mom. And it's like those were things that I'm guess they were trying to force us to tell us. But like then there were really moments which I'm sure you would have felt the same way when you saw Phoebe with the proton pack and she was having trouble controlling it, and then of course Egon is behind her, holding it steady for her. And as soon as you see the hand, you knew, and this Ghostbusters fan, like, oh my God, Egon. And that's
I already, to be honest with you, before I even saw it, I knew that's what was going to happen. The way that they panned in, I was like, that's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, though. You had said before you're hoping they do the whole thing with the voices. I kind of glad they didn't because I didn't want them to use somebody else's voice to play Egon.
Wait, I didn't say that.
No, the way you said you wanted to do the whole line,
no, I wanted those three guys to do it. I wanted Winston to replace Egon and say Winston instead of because they're still Doe. They're still Ray and then
point.
Winston,
right? Yeah, you're right. Okay,
I did. We talked about this after we watched it. Like everybody, my whole entire family went to watch this, except Nikki. So
funny.
We, when we left, we all agreed that showing him was fine. We were all okay with showing him because it looked really good. They did a great job, but making him talk would have ruined the whole movie. And if it wasn't a Reitman making the movie, if it was by a studio, it was all corporate, blah blah blah. He would have been in the movie from the beginning as a ghost, talking the whole time, and it would have ruined it. The fact that he doesn't talk, it saves it.
And another thing I love too is I was talking about in comparison to like Rogue One. You know how Rogue One did the whole Carrie Fisher and they had someone acted out as Princess Leia, and the CGI seems so bad. The reason it works in this scenario is because he's a ghost. So they
but it actually looks amazing. They did a fantastic job.
And that moment where he walks up right beside them and they all look at him, you can't tell me there was just a moment like, I can't wait for Peter to say something. I can't wait for Peter to say something. And of course, Ray talked first, which it makes sense because...
Well, no, Peter says, he's like, I knew that was you or something. Or he's like, of course you would show up. Yeah. And then Ray goes, I'm sorry, friend or something. I don't know what he says. I'm sorry I didn't believe you. And then Winston says, I should have called. And then that was the saddest one. When Winston said that, I was like, oh my God, I'm like, you're going to kill me right now.
Well, there was another thing too. There were so many good Easter eggs that I forgot to actually put some of my review.
I want Rick Moranis in the next one.
I am so mad he wasn't in this one. But I will say, I didn't realize, I was always wondering, because I kind of had a feeling that Rick Moranis' character and Sigourney Weaver's character, I'm forgetting her, Dana, that they actually fornicated when they became the gatekeeper and the keymaster. I was like, did they actually do it? And this confirmed it. Yeah, they did. Because remember, Paul Rudd and their mom literally said, so that moment we had up there.
Well, they tell you that they have to do it. The only way Gozer can come out is if they do that.
Which means that, that whole time when he was wanting to actually be with Dana, he actually ends up with Dana before even Peter does.
It doesn't really count. But I mean, I mean, in terms of leaving the door open for the sequel, because now if it's possible, okay, you don't need all the Ghostbusters back. You can let Venkman go, because I know Bill Murray does not want to do it.
Nope.
Winston will do it. Ray and Ray. I'm saying their character names now. We're doing the reverse. They'll both do it. Annie Potts will definitely come back, and I would love to have Rick Moranis back. Because remember,
Yeah.
weren't her and Spengler liked each other, but Rick Moranis also liked.
Well, yeah.
What's her name?
Janine.
Janine. I wanted to call her Eugene.
I had it for a second, but here's the thing: if you remember, they in the first movie, they really hinted on her having a relationship with Egon. You know what I mean? Remember, because Egon was under her table, and
yes,
she's like, and then all of a sudden they shifted it because she started going for like a wild side version of her. Remember, she had like the poofy hair, and she had dressed more colorful. And then all of a sudden she was going for Rick Moranis, which I can't remember the name for the life of me, what his character name is at the moment. But what fans we are. And I literally just watched the movies the other day. I watched the movies before I went to the theaters. That's the funny part. But anyway, my point to the whole thing is that I didn't really feel comfortable with their relationship. I mean, as far as Rick Moranis' character, and you can kind of tell the way they did this movie, they never mentioned anything that happened with part 2. And
well, because this is what they could do. This is what they could do, and they're not going to forget about Ghostbusters 2. That definitely happened. Yeah. I think a good angle could be, and they might even have been hinting at this the whole time, was that she starts dating Rick Moranis' character, which I can't remember her name, Louis Tully, and then they date for like many years. And then when Egon moves out to the farm, she breaks up with Louis to go with him. So now there's been a rift between the daughter and Spengler, but there's also now a rift between Spengler and Annie and Janine and Louis, who decides now that the Ghostbusters are back, he sees a commercial and he's like, I'm gonna go see what's up, and then she's there, and then now there's starts a new relationship between them. I don't know, just like little things you could do to bring people back.
Yeah, of course. And there's many ways, but again, they have actually stated, because if you notice, and again, they're not saying they're forgetting about part 2, but they wanted to make sure to kind of just focus on because if you look, all the Easter eggs that were in this movie were literally connections to part 1. There was no connection as far as Easter eggs to part 2.
But Phoebe directly references that the events of Ghostbusters 2 was 20 years before she was born, because she's 12 in 1989 and she was born in 2009, which makes perfect sense.
Which I also do like that they did the 1984 to 2021, where they did the whole thing where it has the time frame. So, but did you notice behind 2021 there was another date right there?
It was 2143 or something like that.
Yeah. So like, we're gonna have to wait that long, because I don't really want to wait that long.
I mean, movie, but a good thing too is that date reference thing, people are going to be like, oh, they don't have 1989 or whatever. Well, this is why, because Gozer was not in the second movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It was Vigo, the Carpathian.
Vigo, the Carpathian.
Perfect art to have in your child's room. So, I mean, I want to talk about some things that I'm not going to say, for me being a fan, I didn't mind them, but me being a critic, I don't like it. Okay. So, and you can chime in in a second. Okay. I didn't like how coincidental everything kind of was. I didn't like how easy everything was. I didn't like how she just knew how to do everything prior to the help from Egon. She's 12. She sure, she could be super smart and know how to do that, but like to the level that she was doing things was like stuff that he had worked his whole career to do, and she was doing them in like 2 seconds. Everything came so easily. And then they also, on top of all of this, were so accepting of everything. Oh, we're just gonna fight ghosts now. Like, what? You've been here for 2 days.
I ignored it a lot, but I realized that early on with the whole Phoebe situation, she's like, remember the whole chess thing and all that stuff. But then they bring the trap, the ghost trap to school, or she brings the ghost trap to school, and Paul Rudd's all excited, like, oh, nice replica.
That kind of stuff I liked.
But here's the thing, though. Then she's like, I don't believe in ghosts. What are you talking about? You're literally playing chess with a ghost at home.
That's not what got me. the thing that got me with that, and I agree, I 100% agree with you, was once she picked up the EKG meter or whatever it is,
It is,
and
yeah.
and she just started following the lights. Like, that's already a ghost. So you already said you don't believe in ghosts. Then you got to the basement. When she got to the basement of the thing, she immediately knew who it was. She knew it was him doing it. So you just told me you don't believe in ghosts, but now you know it's your grandfather that helped you.
Right, exactly.
And then when the brother asked the next day, "How did you find all this stuff?" She goes, "Grandfather showed me," or whatever.
And how convenient is that she knew electronics so well, and her brother knows cars so
well. The good thing about they do establish it at the beginning. I have to agree with you in the sense, like what I said before. The level that she does things at is insane. The brother is good with cars, but like you even see, he doesn't even start the car. The ghost, Spengler's ghost, goes and starts the car for him.
Yeah.
But
that's
they establish it at the
apparently
beginning. They show her messing around with the electricity in the wall, and then they show him
that.
fixing the car when they're pulled over to the side of the road.
True.
But I still agree with you to the point where it got a little bit too far, especially with Phoebe, where it was like, how are you doing this? And then with podcast, as much as I loved him, nobody would carry around 20 pounds of equipment everywhere they went. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
But it is still funny to know that Ray was his one subscriber. I love that. He's like, when he calls out his name, I can't remember what podcast his character, his show name was, but he's like, you're, and he's like, you're my one subscriber.
Apparently, it was like Wayward WCUU or no, KSW. Yeah, I don't remember what it was.
Like, oh wow, what a small world. The one person that's your subscriber,
but of course it would be Ray, of course.
Yeah, right. So
and
it was. Those are the funny moments, even though
he nailed it.
Yeah.
Bill Murray. I know he's just playing Bill Murray, but he understood the character of Venkman with every little detail that he said. Winston came through and nailed it. Ray, I mean, Dan Aykroyd, you can tell the love is there for Ghostbusters, and it's like his biggest baby that exists.
Yeah.
And he loves it. But you could also see that, like, he was forcing a lot of that dialogue. Like, it sounded like it didn't feel like it was coming from Ray. It felt like Dan Aykroyd was reading a script, and it just came off like inauthentic in a way. Like the words he said felt like Ray. The way he said it didn't.
Yeah, well, and I realized that too. I mean, even a little bit maybe with Winston, but I feel like Winston always was him. Like, I feel like
that's why. So it's him, Winston, and Venkman are basically
themselves.
Yeah.
And that's the problem is that Dan Aykroyd, he's played the Blues Brothers, he's actually played different characters, and so I feel like he may have lost it with it because I mean I feel like maybe he didn't go back and actually look at the movies and kind of give himself the time to actually get back into that character. Because if you remember the old the old Ray, or old Dan Aykroyd's character of Ray, was more like energetic about science. Remember, he was all like, oh my god, the process, he was really excited. So for him to be like, oh, I don't believe Egon, that was never the situation. Remember, him and both Egon were always super excited when it came to anything ghost, and he was right there like that with the Egon. So for him not to believe Egon, that kind of put me put off. Like, why would you not believe Egon? You two literally were like business partners into making Ghostbusters, and literally Peter was the one that always was like, oh, whatever. It was more about the sex. You just wanted to get women, you know what I mean? So to see him be more offish about Egon saying, I need to do this, that kind of felt weird to me, because I felt like Ray would have been right there with him, like, dude, let's go check this out right now, you know what I mean? So that kind of felt different, and I felt like that's kind of why it feels different as well for him, maybe because it just wasn't in the plot as far as the script, you know what I mean? Like, it felt like it was offish. Maybe that isn't, does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree. So I mean, just a couple side things, I guess. I watched a bunch of shit. So the Sony leaks that happened with the emails. So Channing Tatum emailed. This was about the time when they were going to start filming the other Ghostbusters. Was it 2017 Ghostbusters? I don't remember the year.
2016, yeah.
The girl one. So just before it, he wanted to make a movie with Paul Feig as the director, who made the other one. He didn't know that Paul Feig was making that. He just wanted a Paul Feig directed Ghostbusters movie that had him and Chris Pratt. And his email to them is hilarious. It's like, yo, so I got this idea. It's me, Chris Pratt, and we're doing Ghostbusters. And it was like, I was like, what the hell? And it's an actual email from him to Sony that got released in the leaks.
I've never seen this. If you just send it to me, I want to read this for sure.
Yeah, go Google it, but it's pretty funny. And I just thought that was funny. So, anyways, they Bill Murray and what's his name?
Dan
Aykroyd were very open about being happy with the other Ghostbusters movie, and they were part of it. And I mean, it's really weird that it got the hate that it did, because it's not that bad. It's a pretty good movie. It's well made. The problem with it is it's not Ghostbusters. But even as a fan, like, if your opinion is just like, I'm a fan and this is not Ghostbusters, then your opinion is invalid. Yeah, it's still a good movie.
Yeah, let me just state this. Here was the problem I had with the 2006 one. And you remember, I hadn't seen it until literally like a week ago when I was going to see Afterlife, because I'm like, I just want to sit down and watch it and see how bad it is. Here's my problem with the movie, okay? When we got to the end, like, for example, Kate McKinnon and her techniques with the guns, like those guns, the action scenes for those were amazing. There was some good comedy, but what really felt bad for me is someone actually did a video on this, and they were talking about the introduction of like the proton packs. And if you remember Melissa McCarthy's character, she's flying around with the proton pack, and there's so many moments where you're like, dude, she would have got her legs singed. There's so many things that look bad there that just didn't work out. But what made me I was able to even ignore that. The worst thing for me was I felt like Kristen Wiig, her character, especially since she's the main character, felt so much like she was doing the bridesmaid things again, but it didn't work for this situation. You know what I mean? And so it's like the casting is good, but I feel like whoever was directing it didn't know how to take the characters, or they were taking them way too much to what they're comfortable with. Like, Kate McKinnon, honestly, was my favorite part about that whole movie. You know what I mean? She did a great job. And then I'm forgetting her name too. The other cast member, not Kristen Wiig, but Leslie Jones. Leslie Jones, I loved her in that as well. But like even Chris Hemsworth part felt really odd.
Chris Hemsworth is literally the best part of that movie.
And he's funny, but he seems so offish. That's the thing. Like,
it's because you're not used to seeing him play a character like that.
Yeah, that's probably. But that's the thing. That
he's supposed to be a blonde bimbo, but like the guy version of that.
This basically, what my point to the 2016 one, and why I can understand why people hate it, is it feels way too much like it's trying to be the real Ghostbusters cartoon and not Ghostbusters what it was the movie. You know what I mean?
But see what I mean? And this is not a knock on you, but this is a knock on all nerds. If your reasoning for not liking this movie is because it's not like Ghostbusters, that doesn't make it a bad movie. That just means you don't like it because it's not Ghostbusters. I think if they took this movie and they removed the name Ghostbusters off of it and just made it a movie about hunting ghosts with these characters, like a movie about a paranormal comedy with these characters, and it didn't say Ghostbusters, I think everyone would feel completely different about this movie, because the comedy works. The movie's pretty well put together. It's not a great movie. I'm not saying it's great, but like the hate it got is only because it says Ghostbusters.
Yeah, no, but here's the thing. I'm not when I'm talking about it, I actually did have a lot of enjoyable parts. And again, like, for example, when Kate McKinnon built all those parts, and then at the end when she's fighting with the dual guns, like, there were so many moments like that. Wow, this is awesome. This is kick-ass. Why do people hate this? And it honestly, for me, it was just some of the dialogue that was in it.
Kristen Wiig is absolutely flat. And this is the point where I realized that she literally only plays the same person in every single movie until Barb and Star. Barb and Star is the first time in a movie where she did something different. And it's crazy that she got so much praise for everything she did, because it's like it took us getting to Ghostbusters to be like, she's just always the same person.
Yeah. Like, it felt the same way even a little bit with Leslie Jones, because I feel like she's always playing that.
Leslie Jones just kind of plays Leslie Jones.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she's typecast to be herself. Again, out of all four of the girls, in my honest opinion, Kate McKinnon was the breakout star in that movie.
that's also in prime Kate McKinnon time, where every movie she was in, she was the best part. Girls Night or whatever the hell that movie was called. She was the best part. She was the best part. And what was the other one that came out right at that time?
But she's just good all around. Like that's the reason why
she's like the best part of SNL right now.
Yeah, she is.
It's just the problem with that movie is Ghostbusters. And the effects. The ghosts look like straight out of Scooby-Doo. Like literally, the live-action Scooby-Doo looked exactly like that.
That's why I said real Ghostbusters. It had more like it had more of a feel like it was more going for a cartoon.
But I like what they. I don't remember who said it. It might have been Dan Aykroyd. After all the backlash, because recently when he was doing promotions for the new movie, Dan Aykroyd said bad things about it. And then retracted the comments because they're like, you supported this movie for the whole creation of it, and now you're talking bad about it, like to gain like clout from being a hater, like to get the fans on your side, right?
Yeah.
They're like, you supported this movie for the whole production. You're in the movie, like, but really, I think it might have been him who said it, that this is Ghostbusters in an alternate universe where that at some point they wanted to cross over. So they were making Ghostbusters 3 originally. It wasn't Ghostbusters Afterlife. They were making Ghostbusters 3. Remember, they kept talking about it. And their plans were at some point they were going to cross over the two. So the female Ghostbusters would meet the male Ghostbusters in some sort of event.
It's not going to happen.
It doesn't matter if it's not going to happen. It's good the way it is.
Yeah.
Keep going with this. You got a good thing. Don't screw it up. Leave it in the hands of the people who made this. And I think it will be okay. I mean, I'm not saying go out here and make 100 sequels, but make a close-up sequel like not too far in the future, in the next couple of years, and then wait 10 years until the kids are older and make them have to come back out of retirement and then have to do it again.
You could literally do the date we were talking about before. You know what I mean? You could literally have another movie set up to where the kids are now the ones that take over. And you can even have Phoebe being the main character. You can cast someone else, of course. You don't have to have the same girl. But it's literally, she could be the one that leads into the third run.
By the time a next movie comes out, probably even, let alone down the line at some point. First of all, I'd like to see someone else other than Gozer. I'm saying for like not the next
bring
movie,
back
I'm
Vigo eventually. Yeah.
I'm
just saying do a different character.
No, I get it.
You're gonna go back to Gozer.
But by the time a next movie comes out, even like a couple years down the line, McKenna Grace, who plays Phoebe, and Finn Wolfhard are going to be the two of the biggest actors in the whole world. So it might be difficult at that point to lock them down. So hopefully you have it in a way that they're going to want to come back and do more, right? Because that girl is literally the poster child for child female actors and is in everything. She's in everything. You don't even know she's in things. When you go look at she's like the young version of Margot Robbie and I, Tonya. She's the young version of Sabrina and Sabrina. Like you could go look through it. She's in so many movies. It's absolutely crazy.
Wow, she could really blend. I never really realized.
Yeah, and she's gonna be huge. And he's already getting big. When Stranger Things season 4 comes out, he's gonna explode. So
why do you think they cast him? They knew he was going to be a draw in, and he was the perfect age, and because he still has that teenage look to him. So he's perfect. Because isn't he an adult? I think he's literally an adult now.
Now I think he's like 20. At the time of making this movie, though, this movie was made like 3 years ago.
True,
because it was supposed to come out last year, and it got pushed back to this year, right?
So he's probably around 17 or 18 when he was making it, and then of course he says he's 15. So he was actually the actual age he says the first time in this movie. He was probably the exact age, which is really funny.
That's what I was saying about Stranger Things too. Funny just to talk about it, but I was like, they have to naturally progress them as getting older. Which I don't know if you saw the comments by Tom Holland the other day, where he doesn't want to be 30 and still playing Spider-Man. I think that's stupid, because if you're smart, Marvel and or Stranger Things creators, the Duffer Brothers, age up your characters to match with the show. Stop trying to force them to still be in high school. Let them be older now.
Well, that's the other thing I don't understand. Why is it people think that Spider-Man's always got to be a teenager?
That's what I say. He gets in the comics now. He's like 30 something.
Well, he goes into college. Remember when he was in the college years and
Yeah.
everything? You had Mary Jane was actually like a wasn't she a model and then she became an actress and
She
all
became a detective. She became a
oh
photographer.
yeah, well
There was
yeah
all
that
kinds of
right.
things, right? In my last point of reading Spider-Man was just after Superior Spider-Man, where he was the owner of a billion-dollar corporation, and he was like 30 something, and he was like a top scientist, and like he was doing all this stuff. So
Like again, and I always thought they were going to lead into that based on how his relationship with Tony Stark was. Like, okay, now he takes on the mantle, he becomes a scientist, he becomes rich, so on and so forth. And but they could, I always thought they can go into college years. So to hear Tom Holland be like, I don't want to be 30 playing Spider Man, dude, it's not called Spider Boy, it's called Spider
I know, and
Man.
that made me even more mad because I'm like, as much as I'd like to see some kind of progression in terms of going other ways with Spider-Man, I right now you're Spider-Man, and I don't have time for any more reboot shit. So you better stay as Spider-Man, and they better appropriately age you up because it just doesn't make sense. You're expecting me to believe Zendaya is like a 15-year-old, like a high school student. She looks like 6 years older than Tom Holland, and he's like 30
Yeah,
years old.
yeah, right. So I don't know.
Jacob, whatever his name is, the guy that plays his friend, he
Looks
looks like he's 35.
yeah.
So like, what? Like, I don't know.
It's weird. Again, it's always wanting to keep it young, but still, you're gonna have to adult them anyway. I mean, I guess they want to do it because they have kids, but like, it's still at the same time, you have Miss Marvel coming out. That's a kid character. It's not like you don't have all these other characters. There's both of Scarlet Witch's kids that are part of the whole kid universe. Like, you don't have to keep everyone.
Yeah, well, you have Miss Marvel, you have those two. You're gonna have you have Miss America coming, and you have Hawkeye, the Kate Bishop version.
Kate Bishop, yeah.
And if you saw the clip, which I'm sure you did,
yeah,
where someone asked her if there was going to be Young Avengers, and she turned around and looked at Kevin Feige, and he smiled. So like that, that's probably coming. And you signed another one of the up and coming biggest stars in the world with Haley Steinfeld, and so I mean, Marvel's not stupid. They know what they're doing. They're locking people in. And Ghostbusters has a franchise that can pull like that. So it would be smart to lock down these guys that are going to be big names. You still have the older people. If you can have Sigourney Weaver just lying around for when you need to use her, it's like, holy crap, like you're not losing in these situations. You know what I mean?
Which going back, I do have to say, I do love that Peter actually got a little bit of payback for his little shock therapy thing, and it was her that was doing it. I know they threw that in for the fun and everything, but I love when she's like the cards marked because they even use the same cards. They literally, it's too ironic. But you know that's for the fans that they were doing that. You know what I mean? But I will say that's what's good about what Jason Reitman did is he at least said, listen. This franchise has been gone for a long time outside of the 2016 one, but the franchise, as far as the main franchise, has been gone for a long time. So we want to bring back that charm, just like you said with Force Awakens, to bring it back into the series. But now, do not do the Last Jedi or the Rise of Skywalker. Start being smart about it.
Let's not go that route with it, but. My thought process is, like I said, I don't care what you do at this point. Just let the same people who made this movie make the next movie. Don't go hire. Don't get Jason to quit because you piss him off, and then we're gonna hire a new director. No, it has to be him. It has to be the same writers. It has to be whoever he wants to bring in to make this movie.
But I do have to say they have to be not try to be forcing too many stuff because it worked for this movie. But I'm afraid if they're like, okay, let's just throw in everything that happened in Ghostbusters 2 as like a nostalgia feel.
No, they shouldn't. They should.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
They don't need nostalgia feel anymore. If you want my nostalgia feel, you do two things. You give Dana a bigger role in this movie, and you bring back Lewis. That's all I want. You don't have to give me any more nostalgia. You're already set. You have the
that's what I'm afraid of.
Don't do that. Shit.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe get the firehouse back. I don't care. Let them move out to New York and let them have the firehouse back. That's the nostalgia I want. Don't now copy Ghostbusters 2. It's like that. That's where I kind of lost me with Star Wars was they went through the motions of literally copying the movie. So the first movie was kind of New Hope-y in a new way. Yep. I agree with that, but it also was its own thing, and it used that to elevate the movie that we were watching. And then Last Jedi tried to go its own direction, but it also tried to force in so many Empire stuff. Yeah. And then the third movie had nothing to do with either of the first movies, but then it kept shoehorning in Return of the Jedi stuff. And I was like, why is this happening? Stop it.
Well, the problem they had was when they did one thing, like for example, prime example, Last Jedi. I actually liked The Last Jedi, but I understand why people hate it. But what I feel like is
I really like The Last Jedi.
Yeah, but I feel like what's happened is because it got so much hate, they redcon or whatever the word is, the third movie, and like okay, because like I feel like whole time Rey was gonna end up being like maybe Obi-Wan's daughter because it had that feel with her voice and everything else.
As it should have been.
Yes. But then all of a sudden, because prime example is like the reason when I first did my review of Force Awakens, the reason I felt she is two reasons. One, Finn, the guy that plays Finn has an English accent, but they made him drop his accent, but made her keep hers, which made me think they're doing that on purpose because they want us to make it think it's going to be Obi-Wan, or that's her father. You know what I mean? Which makes sense because in the old,
it could have been. I was expecting it to be Obi-Wan's granddaughter, but yes.
Oh, well, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
But remember, he actually does have a relationship, even though in the code it's not supposed to. He does have a relationship in I'm forgetting the name now, but anyway, so my whole point to the whole thing is all of a sudden they shift it and they go this whole Palpatine route. Like Palpatine's been there the whole time. Like what the hell? There was no hints at all.
But you could have went the Palpatine route as long as you established that from the beginning.
Exactly.
And the biggest issue that I have with all of those movies is they're so disconnected from each other. You should have just let J.J. Abrams make all of the movies.
All at one time, too. I think that would have worked better if they would have like.
But people don't understand this. Okay, when we talk about changing directors, people go, "Oh, the originals changed directors too." Yes, but George Lucas was writing the whole thing, producing the whole thing, editing the whole thing. He was there telling them what to do. The director was just putting their visual style on it. In the new one, Rian Johnson was given full creative control of everything. Why wouldn't you at least have JJ there to consult? Like, don't you want the movies to be linear in any sort of way?
Let's just put it this way. I know prequels get a lot of slack, but at least the prequels felt like they had that consistency to all.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Terrible, absolutely terrible garbage movies, but they did at least feel coherent in terms of storyline. But the first Force Awakens and Last Jedi are better than anything the prequels did, probably. And
I don't know.
The third movie, though. This is my thing. Even if you don't like The Last Jedi, that's fine.
I like it, but I
can live with. I know, but not you. If you out there in YouTube land, you don't like The Last Jedi, that's fine. But do not even try to tell me in any way, shape, or form that The Rise of Skywalker is better than The Last Jedi, because it's not.
No, I don't say that.
The Rise of Skywalker is one of the worst things Star Wars has ever made in the history of Star Wars.
And that's even worse than Phantom Menace in my eyes.
No, I think so. Phantom Menace is the worst thing of all time.
The reason Phantom Menace actually is better in my eyes than The Rise of Skywalker, and it's just literally one scene, and that's just the Darth Maul scene. That at least
but that doesn't make up for 2.5 hours of garbage movie leading up to that point.
We got into The Last Jedi as well. Literally,
but The Last Jedi at least is fun. To me, the Last Jedi, the whole movie is fun. It's an adventure movie for the entire time.
The only time it was fun for me is when Chewbacca.
What was fun about Phantom Menace?
The Darth Maul scene.
Yes, and 11 seconds of pod racing.
But I like
200 minutes of politicking. But not even in a good way. Not even like Game of Thrones level politics.
At least it's a couple things. I mean,
The Last Jedi has. To me, The Last Jedi is better than Episode 1 and 2.
Oh no, I can't agree with Episode 2 at all. No, I liked Episode 2, but
Episode 2 is definitely better than Phantom Menace. That's for sure.
I agree on that. But either way, we're
way off topic. We're talking about Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is good. If you haven't seen it, watch it. Putty has a review out on his channel. I'll link it in the thing.
Thank you.
I'm gonna say that, but I'm probably gonna forget. So hopefully he'll remind me.
I will.
Anyways, thank you for watching. Let us know what you thought about Ghostbusters if you saw it in the comments.